Notification volume 0%.
Good evening, and welcome back to the Blind Prime. We're doing Blindformers again. Today for you, I have what's packaged as Skytread, but it's actually named Flywheels. Well, G1, G2 Flywheels. But he ended up being called Skytread because of, the naming reasons and all that pizzazz. So, let's talk about Mr. Flywheels here. Now, as you see, I have him all, well, if you can't see, he has all sorts of weapons added to him, and he's actually pretty kind of cool. So let's talk about his height, because I didn't do that last time with Hound. I'm gonna fix that mistake immediately. So we're just gonna take one of those Lego panels here. We're gonna draw a line from his head all the way over. Go there. It's a rough estimate, but rough's cool. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18. 18 to 19 studs tall. He's a pretty nice size figure. He's a decent height for a deluxe. But he's got some cool stuff about him, so we're going to get into that. But first off, with this transformation, you're going to want to pull off his little things I have. There we go. Then we're gonna pull off his side bits. I loaded him down with weapons because I like loading him down with weapons. We should start using the blast effects. I got so many of them now. So, pull off those things. We'll just keep the wing mounted stuff together. All that stuff is now together. Now, he's fun. First off, I forgot I had a weapon on his back. You're gonna kind of just pull him apart. Look at that. So first off, the transformation, you want to grab the bottom and the top, and you pull them apart. So his legs are actually one type of vehicle, and his top half is another type of vehicle. So we're going to set his top half over there for a second. We'll work on his legs, because they're a bit more complicated. Now, first off with the legs, you'll find some panels. Let's see if I can get at them. They're a little difficult. So you twist the leg kind of to the side, and you reach in there and you pull out those little panels. There you are. Now, after those panels have been pulled up, and you can pull them out all the way actually. They're pretty good, sturdy. Now you just fold the feet in. Pretty simple, at least that part. Now, when the feet are folded in and the panels are still up, you want to try and merge the feet together. And there's little clips in there, and it just kind of presses in. Now, you're kind of left with this back half, his thigh area. That's actually going to come in. So you hold the main figure in one hand and try not to let him fall apart, because he's one to try in this early step. Then you grab the waist in your other hand and you just kind of fold it up and down. And in the beginning, it's a bit more difficult because those peg slots are new. But you get him in there, and you press down with your thumb on top, and the square bit that connects the waist to the upper half should be directly behind a peg hole there for a Seige port. Now, those two little flaps that you had open, you want to fold them back down, and they kind of snap in place. It's a very loose snap, but it gets the general premise by. I'm not too happy with his transformation, at least the tank style. I feel as though they could have done a bit more here. But for the most part, he's pretty cool. Then you take his big weapon that he came with, and you take it apart. And the long part, you plug into that Seige port, and then that little square bit for his
Starship SN9 launch attempt. Propellant loading is underway despite an apparent lack of FAA approval for launch.
That was weird. Like I was saying, the cannon here plugs in directly to the square port that his waist has. And that waist port, of course, plugs directly into the plane. Now, speaking on the plane part, we're going to set Mr. Little Tank part, so his treads, or his wheels. And now let's look at his body top. Now, his body top is going to you want to grab the front of it, right there, and pull it all the way up. So his chest piece, which was a downward facing like cockpit, you just want to pull it all the way up. And it will snap into place and cover the head, because the head will fold down into a slot. Now, you want to pull the wings down a bit and take the little arms. You will move both of his hands up for a moment. And when you have them, both of his wrists up, you want to go ahead and fold the hands into the empty slots that are there on either side of his arm. And then there's two, in his lower waist section, you'll find that there's two little bits that kind of wiggle. So first off, you want to take his arms and you want to fold them into the negative space that the cockpit left there on the aircraft. Then, after doing that, you take those two little panels that I said wiggled, and you can unfold both of them to reveal the square bit that the top to, or the female end to the male end of the waist. That male end being what's now part of the cannon for the little tank. And then you can fold that female part down, and there's a nice satisfying click when it comes into place. After you do that, you want to take those little flappy doohickeys that unfolded on each side and fold them all the way down, away from the center, and they'll kind of click in place a little. But when you fold the wings back up, they'll meet those points and solidify a nice solid connection. Now with the two arms, you just fold both of them down into the empty area that you just discovered by taking out that female port for the waist connection. And that negative zone is filled, and we are left with a cool little vehicle. You know, I understood what they were doing here, and for what they had to work with, it was pretty nice. So let's load him up with some weapons. Because, as you can see, he does have a few siege ports. So he has one siege port on the front, underneath the cockpit. And if I can line it up right, there we go. Plugs in just like that. And we'll move his tank off over here. Then we can take these little weapons here, and we fold, just snap them, because they're part of the weapons already in his wings anyway. And where's that other weapon? Oh, come here, you. No, wait. That isn't it. No, that isn't it at all. Ah, that's it. Okay. Grab that, twist it over like so it kind of lines up a little better. I discovered that it has two rectangle siege ports. So I'm taking the little guns I got from my smoke screen and plugging them, or Earthrise smoke screen, and I can plug them into each wing slot at the very tips of each wing. And they kind of just sit in there. It's pretty neat, actually. Sometimes they don't like to... There it goes. Look at that. And, of course, we have these two guns here. You can always plug these in just right here. And here. So, counting siege port wise, he's got two I'm not using. So that's 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 on the plane itself. 8 and 9 would be the two ports that do the little rectangle thing, but there's not many accessories that take those. So 7 on the little plane here. Look at all these guns. Oh, right. There's one on the top. So 8 ports on this little guy. That's pretty good. Pretty awesome from Mr. Fly there. And of course the tank, I'm not going to take all the guns off again, but the tank only has 2. Only 2 siege ports for the tank, but the plane gets 8. So altogether, 10. 10 siege ports. Well, 11 if you count the one that the main barrel's plugged into. So 11 siege ports. I say that's pretty awesome for the little guy. Now, before we leave, let's talk about size. For the Mr. Tank, when he's fully transformed, he is 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12. He's 12 studs long. Now, Mr. Plane, whenever he's totally transformed, ends up being something like... Go ahead and do that. So 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15 studs long. That's kind of neat. The plane is just a bit longer than the actual tank. But I don't really have any stories with these guys. I just really wanted myself another Decepticon tank because I think the Transformers that turn into tanks are cool. I can't help myself. I've always loved the tanks, and having more Transformers that turn into tanks, it's fine by me. But I hope you've enjoyed this, and I hope you've learned a bit about Skytreads here, or Flywheels, and I hope this has helped you figure out if he may be right for you. You know, like I said, the only difficulties I have is the only negatives I see in the little guy is the turret. It's kind of, they could have done a better job with it on the tank. But the plane's pretty awesome. I think I can weaponize this plane completely, and he's just cool. So, y'all have a great one. Bye-bye.